みんなアルとマイクみたいになりたい。でも電話してくれない。オークランドとブックレンドから世界チャンピオンバーチャルプローズ始まるよ。バーチャルプローズ。バーチャルプローズ。
Boy, you should know that I had you on my mind, secret admirer. I've been watching you. Should I swing my way? Sure look good to me. Now would you please swing my way? Should I swing my way?
Episode 15 of the world-famous Virtual Pros podcast. My name is Al, a.k.a. Henny Omega, a.k.a. Flocka Michinoku, a.k.a. Lord Alfred Purple Haze, a.k.a. Fob Van Zam, and with me on the East Coast is Mike.
Hey, it's Mike, a.k.a. Dr. Swagner Jr., a.k.a. Wavy Boy Smith, a.k.a. Lou Thiz.
Today's episode, we have a very jam-packed show, I feel like. The urban legends of pro wrestling. What side of the kayfabe fence are you on? Hit us on iTunes and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, peep us on SoundCloud. Look us up by using Virtual Pros as the search term. Hit us on Instagram at VRTL Pros, same as our Twitter. And peep our mixtape. You can find that link on the SoundCloud as well. If you want to email us, please do so at virtualpros64@gmail.com. A lot of people wrote in the past 2 weeks, and I think Mike is going to start off with those emails.
Yes, I'm gonna read some emails. First AJ wrote in, but that we don't need to read that, so we're gonna skip that one.
Sorry, AJ.
Yes, I mean I don't think he cares. Next, George wrote in. His subject was wrestling feelings. He says, "What's up, guys? Great ep as usual with number 14, but great ep as usual with number 14. But screw you guys for making me feel real feelings remembering how I bawled like a baby watching Hogan lose to Warrior at WrestleMania. Hell, I still kind of lose my shit when I watch Savage reunite with Elizabeth to this day too. But don't judge me. Glad to know that WWF New York wasn't what all the Raw and pay-per-view cutaways made it seem to be. As well, since I never got to check it out. In hindsight, it probably deserved to go the way of Nitro Grill and JR's Barbecue Restaurant. Anyways, keep up the great work. Cheers, George, a.k.a. Fiend Ambrose, a.k.a. Strike Source, a.k.a. Thumpin' Jim Brunzell." Yeah, I guess this opened my eyes. I guess people that were like a few years younger than me did not want Hulk Hogan to lose that match.
Yeah, it was only you, man. You're like a fucking 8-year-old smark. Like, how did you not root for fucking Hogan?
No, I mean, I watched it. I didn't watch it alone. I watched it with like other kids, and we all wanted Ultimate Warrior to win. So it wasn't just me.
Oh, man. East Coast is weird.
It's just older boys, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Next is, thank you for the email, by the way, George. That's a long one. This one's from Drug Dogs, who is he's an artist type. Check his shit out, Drug Dogs. He does these cool pixelated wrestler stickers. Amongst other things, he's done some artwork for some hardcore bands, if you guys are into the hardcore, so he might have some recognizable stuff to you. But anyways, he writes in the video games email. "Hey guys, I just listened to the wrestling video games episode and thoroughly enjoyed it. Like both of you, my love and appreciation for the absurd business has been bolstered and supplemented by wrestling video games, especially in a pre-internet world. My earliest real video game memories is kind of a curveball. WWF Superstars 2 for Game Boy, LL What, and LGN game. Now, to be fair, I was thoroughly familiar with the earliest WWF titles on the NES, like WrestleMania Challenge, and the one that had Hulk Hogan ripping his shirt on the title. Might have been called WrestleMania. I'm spacing out right now. That is the one I remember showing to my little sister and being like, see this guy sucks. My cousin had it, and I played the bejesus out of those games whenever I would visit. I had also played the WCW game for NES and have such an affection for its Select Your Wrestler screen that I have based entire art projects on it alone. But WWF Superstars 2 was mine. I owned it, and it was for Game Boy, which meant I could take it anywhere. I'm a new-gen kid. My first pay-per-view was in 1992. so the chance to actually play as the Mountie or the Undertaker was also thrilling. The gameplay is vanilla as fuck and features no finishing moves and really basic sprite work, but goddamn the music on that game. I can't emphasize how exciting it was to 6-year-old ears to hear that tinny 8-bit recreation of Jake Roberts' Trust Me theme bleeding through my Game Boy speakers. I don't know, man. I loved it. I would cycle through the Select Wrestler theme just so I could tape the Game Boy recreation of every wrestler's entrance music onto my Talk Boy. Wow. And then would listen to it for fun later. The title screen music, too. I love it. I would play that fucker during church or at school, and just because my little go-to. It was one of the first games that I got good at. That's impressive. Objectively, it's not a good game. I don't enjoy playing it now, but it holds the distinction of being the first wrestling game I ever loved. Anyway, I can talk forever about Revenge or on N64, how my brain got blown wide open when I discovered Super Nintendo emulation. Blah, 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 blah. Anyways, thanks for what you do. Video games and wrestling have been my go-to for artistic inspiration for years now because they played such a key development in my youth. Hearing about your own experiences with pencil and paper, create a wrestler feds, and the untold hours of ours put into these simple but addicting hunks of plastic has sent me down the nostalgia rabbit hole. Yours in pixelated programs, Drug Dogs.
Man, so like you actually have downloaded a bunch of 64 like ROMs recently. Like, are you kind of going through the black hole of like your teenage adult years right now?
Sort of. Like, I downloaded because you told me like a while ago now that Fire Pro was on PlayStation 3 network, and I never knew that. So I downloaded that, and I've been having like fun with that. But yeah, I downloaded Virtual Pros 2 or Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. I mean, and yeah, it's good. It's still like super good. Mostly because I'm lazy and I just downloaded like a translation pack, so I could just play it in English. So it's like not complicated. And but I downloaded No Mercy, and like I don't know, that game really sucks in comparison to Virtual Pro Wrestling.
I agree, man. Like, I do like the running grapple in No Mercy, but like it just seems like VPW2 was the best iteration of that whole engine. I don't care that No Mercy was like the last one, but VPW2 was like the perfect speed, and I just like the presentation better. Like No Mercy is like ugly compared to VPW2, I think. Yeah,
it is. I mean, I played them back to back, and it's just like it's so gaudy now, like just because that's how it was back then.
Diggity dog. That song aside, I wish that song was in VPW2. I'll take over. DB wrote in, and he has kind of a crazy story. So he starts off by saying, "Here's the deal. Heatwave 1998 in beautiful, scenic, rustic Dayton, Ohio at the Hera Arena. My stupid 18-year-old ass is stumbling around the concourse of Hera, moked out and fresh off chugging a couple of Milwaukee's best ices in the parking lot, when I see RVD off in the distance. I yell, 'Yo, you guys fitting to get up?' That's a funny way to say that. RVD looks at me oddly, and I produce a cone packed with the goodness from my jacket pocket. Flash forward about 30 seconds. RVD reappears with Sabu and your boy Jinsei Shinzaki. I look up at them and shrug and get the motion to go outside. That's pretty much it. We see an emergency exit, prop the door with my state-of-the-art clear case Nokia 3310 and got down. RVD and Sabu kind of grunted in my general vicinity afterwards. Jinsei gave me the what up, and they headed back to wherever they came from. I went to my seat facing the hard cam and proceeded to flail wildly during Sabu RVD versus Jinsei Hayabusa, which is visible on the pay-per-view. Not a super awesome story, but you guys asked for it, so there we go. Yeah, not a great story, Dave, honestly. AKA
I don't know.
DB. But I mean, I think it's pretty funny that Jinsei just nodded at you, and that's a pretty perfect way to acknowledge that he was zooted.
If I smoked weed with a lot of weird people, but I think Jinsei Shinzaki would, he'd probably top my list, I think. That's just like a weird dude to smoke weed with, I think.
Yeah, like that'd be dope if he just like did like the fucking rope walk on like a rail or something while you were smoking. I don't know. I would have got more out of that story. No
because
offense.
like,
I'm just kidding, DB. That's an awesome story.
I don't know much about Jinsei Shinzaki's real life, so in my head, he's just like the kind of guy he portrays. So he seems like way too serious and stoic to be a weed smoker. So it's just weird.
This kind of makes me wonder where Hayabusa was at. Was he like looking at Jinsei with like judging eyes? Like, come on, dude. You're smoking with fucking fans? What are you doing here?
Yeah.
The last email we're going to read is from Kyle, and he writes in, "Hey guys, Bitchin' Podcast. By far the most listenable wrestling podcast going." Hey, thanks,
That's
Kyle.
right.
That's what we were going for, you know, and you appreciate our art. Hoping that Al can mention a good Haley Hatred match from Japan. I'm really stoked on pretty much every match of hers that I can find, but I don't really know any of her opponents, so I was hoping that you guys could point me in the right direction. Sorry, Kyle, I'm not too familiar with that Haley Hatred. I know that she has like this intergender match on YouTube that has like 3 million views, and I think she just like gets the shit kicked out of her, and I'm not really into that, but I hope you find like, you know, the matches that you're looking for.
I will say, I don't know this woman either, but I was on Totacon, and she has one of her outfits on there, and it makes sure to mention that it also includes the undershirt. So if you are a big pervo, Haley Hatred's costume is on there, and you get to smell her breasts or whatever you want to do.
How much is it going for?
It was a lot. Like, you know, it was in the like high hundreds probably, I think.
Jesus Christ, man.
There's Big E's, one of Big E's things is on there for like $300, I think. That's a steal. Also, one of Bray Wyatt's Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah, today they stocked Masachono's robe, and that's going for like $10,000, I think, US or something crazy.
I don't want to get into it, but their pricing is just bananas. Like, what is expensive and what's not.
That's what I like about it, man. Like, they are like the Beckett's, the Wizard World of like pro wrestling merchandise. And like in 2016, that shit is super appreciated by me, man.
Yeah, that's true. Well, okay. So I guess we're going to do the 2-man scramble now.
Yeah, I have 0 topics, as usual.
Okay. I have a few. Let's see. Yeah, we got time.
There you go.
Okay. First off, I just thought of this one, but I don't think we're going to be taken seriously as a wrestling podcast until we start referring to wrestling as the product.
Man, you know what? I've been thinking about this too, and I like that our show is in a lane where you and I are just fans. Like, you and I have no like illusions of like being dudes in the biz or even saying the word biz like seriously. Like, I think it's okay for me just to be a fan. I like being a fan. I like paying for shit. I like, you know, just, I guess I don't like paying for shit, but I don't mind it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a fucking hobby and I'm with it. Like, I don't have any, like, dreams of, like, one day, I don't know, like, being one of the boys. You know what I mean? Like, do you?
No, that's really weird because it's somebody else's job. That's like, I don't know. There's I mean, I'd like to make money off this, you know, let's cut the shit. But, like,
yeah, sure.
I don't want to ever be backstage at a wrestling thing unless I have like a reason to be there.
I never want to call a wrestler by the real name and like really mean it. You know what I mean?
No.
The day that I call Triple H Paul and like I'm not smiling, just fucking kill me or just shoot me right then and there because that's stupid to me at least.
I don't even like saying heel and face in real life. So yeah, I can't imagine calling. I still say good guy and bad guy like I'm 6 years old. Speaking of that topic, though, and the product, I've also found out that I found people like more shameful than I think even people who just like specifically watch women's wrestling and just can't admit it's because they're sexy. It's people who do say things like the product and Mark and stuff like that, and they're like super into wrestling, but they only watch WWE, and it's so mystifying to me how you could do that.
You're kind of describing the Cheap Heat audience. And like, I don't know, you've never listened to that podcast, right? Or that show? No way, Jose. My new favorite wrestler, by the way. No way, Jose. Oh man, I'm really digging the fact that I think they're really going to go with his backstory that he's like this like mid-level reliever that couldn't hack it like in AAA. Because that's his finisher, is like a fucking baseball pitch, which is fucking tight.
It was amazing because I tweeted, it's so crazy that they have a Dominican wrestler and they didn't do a baseball gimmick. And then 2 seconds later, he's doing a baseball pitch motion. And I was like, yes.
I kind of lost my train of thought about this Cheap Heat thing. I think like these are the fans right now that are complaining to Dave Meltzer that he didn't rate Nakamura Zayn 5 stars. And it's just like, you have the internet, like, I don't know. I mean, the E is the most accessible like thing to watch, obviously. But I don't know. It's just a time where I think you should get into more wrestling than just the E. But if you want to be like a fucking smart Mark fan, like really follow through.
Yeah, exactly. If you're putting up videos, YouTube videos, or writing articles, you can't just watch WWE. It's like the lamest shit.
It's like being like a hip hop fan and like in 2000 and like saying, I'll listen to Def Jam.
Yeah.
You have more options out there these days. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Jay-Z was the best in 2000 anyway, so it's okay.
Okay, my next one is from, I was listening to one of the 7,000 shows on live audio wrestling, and they like offhandedly mentioned this, and I didn't know if this was a common fact or not, but they offhandedly mentioned that Shinsuke Nakamura smokes cigarettes. Did you know about this?
I've heard that he smokes like a chimney. That's like one of the ongoing like urban legends about that dude, and I could see it. It looks kind of haggard. He has
That's
kind of
awesome.
like a catcher's mitt complexion like face. I don't know.
I'm a big fan of any wrestler that just smokes cigarettes. That's why, as lame as Big Show will ever get, even though he vapes now, so he kind of gave up on smoking cigarettes, but it's so cool that you're just like a shitty wrestler that smokes cigarettes. That's so cool to me.
I wonder if that like was one of his main reasons why he came to the U.S. He was like, man, Marlboro Reds are a lot cheaper like here than in Japan, and like smoking 7 stars, whatever they smoke in Japan, is like completely lame.
You get 20 a box here. This is great.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Maybe, hopefully. Next up, we have recently just reached our plateau of tastemakers of the internet wrestling community, and I just wanted to mention that people are using our jokes on Reddit. And speaking of which, Alice told me that if you do something like a podcast, you can't just go to Reddit and be like, hey, listen to my podcast. So I have a proposition for you listeners out there that also use Reddit, because I don't fucking understand Reddit. I don't understand why people use it. It's so weird to me. But if you can go to Reddit and be like, hey, you should listen to this podcast, and it gets us like a significant amount of new listeners, I'll send you something. I'm not going to tell you what, but I'll send it to you. I got a lot of weird shit in my room, so I'm sure you'll be happy if you're into weird shit.
I don't think you should do that, because someone's going to hack our page if like enough people do that. So, you know what? If you're listening and you sincerely like fuck with us and like post on Reddit, go ahead. But I know that it's not going to go anywhere, because people on like Squared Circle only like very whimsical facts about wrestling, or like Kairi Hojo's elbow drop.
So explain this to me. So it is a wrestling message board, and you're not allowed to mention anything. You're telling me?
No, well, you're not allowed to be like, hey, check out my podcast. I mean, you can do that, but people will not give a fuck. Like, they want you to like post, like, I don't know, like, how do I explain this? It really like, Squared Circle is just for flexing like your nerd muscles, really. Like,
okay.
check out what I noticed, or like, look what I pieced together, or like, would you book so and so like this? Like, that's really what it's for. Yeah,
that's stupid. I hate how the internet has made everything so accessible that you can't like promote your own shit. You have to like get a cosign from somebody, and now it's like the point where you need like 10 cosigns from people, and it's just garbage.
Do you know that Bull Nakano follows us on Twitter, guys? Like, that's the only cosign that I've ever cared about.
Yeah, seriously. She follows like 20 people, and we're one of them.
We're one of them, man. Peep the art. We're crazy.
Next up, this is also sort of directed towards you, Al, and other viewers of the product. I've noticed a lot of hot take wizards out there.
Oh, shit.
Kind of just downplaying Apollo Crews and calling him crappy. What's up with that? What's going on, Al? Why is Apollo Crews crappy?
Man, I was actually going on about this last night. Like, well, what is his character to you?
He doesn't have a character. He's just happy to be there.
Okay, that sucks.
It does suck.
Okay, secondly, like, you think he's a good wrestler, right?
For WWE, he's amazing.
I don't think he's amazing.
Oh, like, for WWE, yes, he is. He is amazing.
He can do like really cool things, but he can't do anything between those cool things. And that's what I think his biggest problem is. Like, I don't think he knows how to pace a match correctly. As a watcher of the product, I don't find his matches to be very engaging.
I will say that, I mean, he should have worked on that a little more in NXT, because he's been in Dragon Gate and places like that for too long, where you don't need to do shit like that. But I don't know. I think everybody's racist. That's what I think. I think you should leave Apollo Crews alone and give him a chance, even though whenever Neville comes back, he's going to be stuck in a tag team with Neville.
That's really the best case scenario for both of those guys. They should just be like two vanilla dudes that like are paired together but can do like amazing feats, and that'll be it.
Just happy to be there.
And that's not true, man. People love Sasha Banks. People aren't racist. Come on, man.
I got one more, and then I forgot a main thing we forgot to mention, so I'll wrap this up real quick. Yeah. I was going through weird NXT wrestlers and looking at their Wikipedias, and I came across Ty Dillinger. Did not know he's been involved with WWE for 10 years, and he's 35 years old.
What?
Do you think this guy has more of a chance of getting in the WWE or Alex Riley?
Oh man, I think Ty Dillinger has something going with the 10 thing. Like people love doing that 10 chant, and I think he's pretty good in the ring too. He's a lot better than Alex Riley. I actually had a question for you. Do you think Alex Riley is mad that Baron Corbin like stole his whole entire swag, but just like made it way more palatable?
I don't know. I don't think Alex Riley gets any direction. I just think they're like, yeah, keep doing what you're doing. But I think, they coached Baron Corbin to be that guy. So I don't know.
I like Baron Corbin way more than Alex Riley. That guy's fucking awesome.
Yes. But yeah, I forgot to mention that I got a special package in the mail a couple weeks ago. It was a t-shirt that Alex sent me for losing our little WrestleMania bet. And if you guys didn't check the Instagram or the Twitter, it was a Buff Bagwell shirt that said, it was a pinkish shirt. It was a white shirt with like a kind of pinkish red print of Buff Bagwell. 3 pictures of him topless, of course, looking like a male stripper. And it said Buff the Vampiro Slayer on it, much like the TV show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And it took me so long to figure that out. I was like, this is the dumbest shirt. What does that even mean? And then I was like, oh, like the fucking TV show, which is ironic because I spent like a solid 4 months watching it on my other podcast, Kissing Contest, and I still couldn't piece it together. And so, as per the bet, I had to wear it out in public. I wore it in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. If you guys are familiar with that, it's not the hipster playground it used to be. Now it's mostly yuppies, but it is still a very crowded area. And I wore it proudly down the street and to the theater and then back and then to the store and then to another store. And I
don't mean to cut you off. You posted that photo on VRTL Pros, and listener Carr and listener Mike had a question for you, actually. This is my topic. You took that picture and you're holding a hoodie in your left hand. And they think you're playing me, and they think that you wore that hoodie the entire time and took that shirt off.
No, I didn't. I did leave the house in a hoodie because it was cold, and then like by the time I got to the theater, it was too hot. That's why I was holding it.
There you go, Mike and Carr. You have your answer.
You can ask Mark Fredo, the ghost of Mark Fredo. He was there for most of the whole thing.
Yeah. So how was your experience with wearing that shirt out in public?
Well, I do have the advantage that I live in New York, in Brooklyn, out of all places, so I probably wasn't wearing the dumbest shirt that day by far.
What?
I mean, I got on the train and the first thing I saw was like a pretty cute girl in those those cargo zip away short pants. And I was just like, okay, well, this Buff shirt's not as bad as those. And then like I got off the train and there was a guy wearing like with no irony, just like a Transformers t-shirt, and he was like a grown adult. And I was like, I'd rather be wearing this Buff Bagwell shirt than that. And but then, like, there's this old dude who's, like, super grilling me, but I think he was, like, more like, he thought it was, like, dudes, like, just hot dudes on my shirt. So I think he was like, yo, what up? Like, that kind of grilling me. But so that was kind of creepy. There's this little kid that stared, like, way too hard on it, trying to figure out what it was. But, yeah, for the most part, I just walked around. Mark was like, hey, that's a nice shirt. And I was like, yeah, I know.
Are you going to wear that shirt again?
I don't think so. Oh, that's another thing I forgot to mention about the shirt. It's like, of course, because it was super cheap. It was like paper thin, so I'd wear a shirt under it just so I wasn't exposed to the world, because like you could see my skin through the shirt. And
what kind of blank was it printed on? Was it like anything like identifiable?
I got it right here actually. No, it's just like a dollar store brand. It's let's see, Magic Activewear, made in Vietnam. Also, I just looking at the tag reminded me. Also, Al got me the wrong size. He got me extra large. I am a large, so it was just like down like almost to my knees. So that was pretty cool too. It was a good look.
Well, they didn't have any larges, and like this was the shirt I was just fucking set on. Like,
so did not go to Pro Wrestling Tees? Did this person have a variety of shirts, or was it just this shirt?
So they're an eBay store, and I think they just buy up like all the Kmart tees and flip them on eBay for whatever reason, or they just have like some weird supplier of wrestling t-shirts, as you can see by the Buff the Vampiro Slayer shirt. Yeah, I think that's their deal. They just buy up like the junky like WWE t-shirts and flip them on eBay.
That's cool. I'll know where to go next time I need a horrible shirt.
I mean, $12.99 shipped, and you got that shirt like in 3 days. Like,
yeah, it was super quick.
Yeah, man. Utah to New York. And they gave me feedback. So props to those guys. I fuck with them.
Okay, we should move on.
Okay, up next, Urban Legends. What side of the fence are you on? Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Virtual Pros, episode 15, I believe. This is our anniversary, our 15th anniversary.
Crazy.
And today we have wrestling urban legends. If you, even if you have the internet, you are into rumors if you like the product, because that is half of the appeal of the product is looking at wrestling rumors, because it's fun. It's like soap opera shit. Like, I remember when my mom would buy those soap opera magazines, I'd be like, you idiot. But, here I am, like my mom's age, doing the same shit like an idiot.
Hey, but before we get into it, like, what was the dumbest, like, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, like, rumor you believed? Like, I remember buying the magazine, and they were talking about, like, dark horses for next NWO members. And, like, Raven was one of them, and I was like, oh, shit, NWO is about to be fucking super lit, because Raven's going to be in the NWO.
I don't remember specifically, but I definitely do remember that even though I knew wrestling was fake, it took me a long time to figure out those magazines were fake, which is real sad when you, like, look back at them.
I was like, man, this isn't a publication. Like, dude,
it has to be real.
Yeah, it's on print. Like, there's some kind of fucking journalistic standard that people are, like, upheld to, and they can't lie about pro wrestling. Like, Bill Apter would not lie to me about Raven joining the NWO, and it was fucking crazy to me.
Okay, so yeah, we're doing these urban legends. This is mostly inspired by very famous, what made the Death Valley Driver video review message board super famous, was innocently started a thread a long time ago about, like, wrestling sleaze, post your wrestling rumors here. And I think it, like I said, started off innocently, and then I'm sure there are some people that were just trolling, but this was like pre-trolling era, so you just kind of believed anything anybody posted anyways. So I think there's a lot of that, and it just became this monstrous legendary list that they've made, like, shoot interviews about, and just, like, all this other shit. So it's inspired by that. Mine personally are more of just, like, weird shit that I heard along the way. I didn't even look at the Death Valley Driver thing because I just wanted to be off the dome. And then we have a couple, like, huge ones that everybody knows that we just want to weigh in on.
So, like, I read that thread, like, every couple years, and I looked at it today, and I was like, man, this just gets dumber and dumber every time I read it. But yeah. I've picked two, and I wanted you to weigh in on whether you hoped these were real or whether or not you hoped these were fake.
Okay.
The first one I picked was Bill DeMott, a.k.a. Hugh Morris, a.k.a. Whatever he was. Was he General Huge Erection, I think,
yes,
later on?
Huge Erection, yes.
Man, what a sweet name. Okay, Bill DeMott did a shit on Bagwell's face while Buff was sleeping. Do you hope that's true or false?
I hope and believe that is true.
I think it's true, too. Secondly, Sabu, he kicked a bag down some stairs and all around the locker room, and then he opens the bag and a cat comes out. All the while Sabu is wearing an I Love Cats shirt. Do you hope that's true, or do you hope that's false?
I hope it's false, and I believe it's false.
I hope it's false too, but man, I wouldn't be surprised if it was true.
Speaking of Sabu, that actually reminded me of my honest to God favorite rumor that the internet has produced that I think was at least recently debunked, which sucks. But the thing about where Vince McMahon was on the other line of a phone and they were trying to book Sabu or something, and Sabu had some strange demands, and supposedly Sabu was talking in the first person the whole time, And then Vince turned to whoever was handling the phone call and said, "Tell Sabu to fuck Sabu." And that is like the greatest Vince McMahon story I've ever heard. But supposedly that's not true. But I am believing that it's true.
I really hope that's true too. Yeah, I think he wanted like some like ridiculous amount of money to show up, and that's what he said. And
yes,
man, I really hope that's true too.
So do you want to talk about the two big ones first, or do you just want to talk about our personal ones first?
So like, as a kid, I only like really believed in one, aside from like the Ultimate Warrior dying, because that was like the hot one that went around like everywhere as kids. But like, I guess my main like urban legend as a kid, like in the neighborhood, was when Nails debuted, and he kind of had like that robot voice. And I hung out with like older kids, and they convinced me that that was real. And I was like, man, like, how does he sound like a robot? That's fucking crazy. But like, I guess he was an inmate, so I mean, like, I believe it. He sounds like a fucking maniac. And then I think a current affair, like, to like disguise like someone's identity, they broke out with that same like modulator filter. And I was like, oh man, I got fucking like fooled. I felt like a total idiot that day. And that was like really like the only dumb urban legend I thought of as a kid.
Mine are shitty because two of them turned out to be real, and
shit.
the other one I think I invented. So, but first, I just wanted to mention that the first like rumor I remember hearing, like the first like behind the scenes wrestling rumor I remember hearing when I was little, was that, and every adult felt like they needed to tell me this, was that George the Animal Steel really wasn't stupid, and that he was a professor. And I think that's half right. He really wasn't stupid. I think he just had like a degree or something. I don't know if he was really a professor, but I feel like every adult like told me that, and it like just confused me because I was just like, I don't get it because he's dumb. But you know, that's what adults like to do. They like to tell you little facts to impress you.
I think he was like an elementary school teacher. I think that's the fucking story.
Yeah,
something like that.
Also another one that I thought was real up until I just checked it for this episode, or I thought was a rumor, and found out it was real, was when I was really young, that Andre the Giant, something happened where he got suspended and he came back as a giant machine. And I remember that. And like he had a partner who was I think either Axe or Smash under a mask too. But then they started adding machines like Hulk Machine and Piper Machine and like all these other machines. And I always thought there was only Hulk Machine and every other one was made up. And like all the kids were just like making them up. Because I was like, I have never seen this guy on television. He's not real. Because there's like 8 of them. And it turns out they were all real. And all this whole time, this whole 300 years of my life, believing that the machines were fake. But it turns out they were not fake.
I have no idea what you're talking about. It sounds crazy though.
It's so obscure. It lasted for like a couple months, and it was like a million years ago. It was like when I was 6. So it was a long time ago. Another one is one that I mentioned on Kissing Contest, and I swear to God, I saw this, and I cannot find footage of it. And I like fucking Google all day. I can't find it. So I guess I imagined it, but it's like such a vivid memory. I remember watching wrestling with my friend Kenny, and I think he had it on videotape. And this was when I was young, like 6 probably, maybe 7. And I think he had it on videotape, so I remember we watched it a lot, or maybe they replayed it a lot, or maybe I imagined it again. But there was like a match where Andre the Giant, when he was still a good guy, was being held down by like the Heenan family, and King Kong Bundy was splashing him over and over again. And then like after he's done splashing him, they show Andre the Giant's chest, and there wasn't a bone sticking out of his chest, but there was like a bone protruding, so he just had this large bump on his chest. And I swear to God, I saw that, and no one has any recollection of this. There's no video footage of this. Like you type in King Kong Bundy and Andre the Giant, and they've supposedly only met in the ring like a handful of times on video at least. And like, I don't know. I swear to God, there's nothing from my childhood that like I remember that wasn't true. So this just like, I don't know, maybe my little kid brain just thought I saw a bone coming out of his chest. But so if there's any other old grandpas out there, Bix, if you're listening, you are a wrestling historian. You probably have it in your fucking database in your iron lung that you live in. But I just need validation that this happened and Andre's bone stuck out of his chest.
Like it came out of the skin? Is that what you
No,
saw?
It didn't come out of his skin. It was just like a huge bump, as if like you broke the chest.
Like a compound fracture or something.
Yeah, like a compound fracture.
Oh, crazy.
I don't know. Like, it's probably not real. I live in the Northeast, so chances are it was on an MSG show or a Boston Garden show or one of those shows, but I don't know. I cannot for the life of me. Dave Meltzer, I know you're a big fan.
What up, Dave?
That is like, honestly, if I were to ever ask Dave Meltzer a question, it would be that, or why do Japanese people use that spray stuff so much? But that is like been on my mind since like the first time I saw Japanese wrestling. But this Andre thing needs to be solved.
I would think you would ask him, like, does Masawa have correct fitting pants? Because he seems to always adjust them.
That's a new revelation, so it doesn't had time to build up in my head. Okay, so do you have more?
I have like really dumb ones that like are not that like complex. Like I thought like the Big Show was really Andre the Giant's kid when he came out in WCW because he had a singlet. And,
oh my god!
Like, yeah, like I was a very idiot kid. Other than that, just that and nails, really.
Okay, so I'll go on. When I got the internet, when I got the internet to like use it a lot was around the same time I got back into wrestling. So it was like 98 probably.
Yeah.
And and for you youngins who didn't have the internet back then, but the internet was real weird back then because there was no streaming video, there was no GIFs and JPEGs. It was basically all message boards.
There was JPEGs in 98.
Yeah, but
I remember downloading like Hello Marlena and like fucking Sony Pictures off like the WWF channel. Yeah,
I mean, there's JPEGs like that you could download, but you wouldn't like open up a blog and see like 40 million pictures because it would take 4 hours to load on your computer. So
yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah, for sure. There was no photo blogs back in the day.
Yeah. So like it was mostly message boards, and again, it was before people knew that like other people were just trolling them and making shit up. So you just like if you posted on the internet, it had to be true. Because why else would you say it?
Yep.
And, so yeah, I got into wrestling, and of course, again, and there was just like a lot more weirdness you could bump into on the internet back then. A lot more very specific message boards for very specific things, including one I found, which was all about ring rats. And it was just all of these quote unquote ring rats posting stories back and forth like, oh yeah, I fucked Jeff Hardy. His dick was 6 inches. And then like some other girl, quote unquote girl would post, yeah, I fucked him too. And yeah, it was also 6 inches. And like some guy would post, yeah, he's bisexual because he had sex with me too. And like it would just be like every single wrestler, hundreds of people have had sex with them, and they all post on like this pro boards message board. And I was still like, man, this has to be real. Like, why else would they post this? But that was like one of the things where I was like, okay, this seems a little far fetched that all of these people would meet on this message board to just talk about penis size of these wrestlers that they've all apparently had sex with. But I wish that board still existed in some aspect because I'd like to go back and read it, but I don't even remember the name. Another big one from
why, before you get into that, like, that's why the urban legends, like, thread is so stupid, because there was, like, a lot of, like, well, so-and-so fuck so-and-so, and there was, like, one that was, like, Jushin Liger, like, loved to share his wife with Taka Michinoku, Hayabusa, and Great Sasuke. And I'm like, man, that's a very specific crowd that he would like to, like, share his wife with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thread is fucking ridiculous.
They turn into, like, those penthouse letters after a while, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Another thing I thought was real for a very long time, and I was like, man, adults have a lot of sex.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like they have a lot of sex in random scenarios. I cannot wait to be an adult. Yeah, another one from that time that I read was this is also the same time I discovered there was a thing called backyard wrestling, which was just idiot kids doing weird shit in their backyards. And you
never participated?
No, I didn't. Like I was like, oh, I'd like to see this in real life, but I never did. After I saw it on like video, I was like, oh, this is dumb, but it sounded cool when I heard about it. But I remember those kids, they would always post, like, multiple kids would post how there was like a backyard promotion out there, or like a backyard videotape that exists where they had an AIDS-filled syringe match and somebody actually got stabbed with AIDS. And I read that enough to believe it, where I was like, that's pretty crazy. But then I was like, where would you get the AIDS from? Like, so I don't know. But
I've wrestled at a park a time or two in my teenage years. I'll fucking admit it. Unfortunately.
Yeah, did you have a name?
No, I didn't. Sadly enough, we just like kind of just wrestled. Like, we were like really like for real, like trying to do like all Japan style wrestling at the local park. Like trying to like do like rapid pin attempts and like fucking solid leg work. Like, we were that dorky.
I did that shit when I was like 7, and I remember that I found out like a Boston Crab hurt because my friend was like, "Oh, let me put you in the Boston Crab or the figure 4. That shit hurts. All that stuff really hurts."
You know what hurts more than the figure 4 is when you fucking reverse it, and it hurts the person that's doing the figure 4 more than the person that's reversing it. It actually kind of hurts both people. That fucking move sucks. Like someone's finisher should just be reverse figure 4. That'd be tight.
Okay, a couple more quick ones before we get into the main ones. I just enjoy now that the Benoit murder has passed so long now that there are Benoit truthers out there that support. They think like the mob set this up or something. I love that. I think that's a great thing to believe. And another one that I've never known if this was true or if it's like ever been debunked or what. And I've always just questioned it because it seems like a really odd thing and it's not that big of a deal. But supposedly when CM Punk first won the title, the reason he lost it is because he didn't dress like a champion. Like he refused to wear suits. Yeah. It's like the Undertaker ratted on him or something like that. And so he lost the belt. And that just seems so petty, even for WWE, that I just can't believe that one.
Well, like every time I feel like I see Cena, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Every time I see Cena outside, he's always wearing a suit. So I think there's some sort of credence to them, like, wearing... Well, I kind of think, like, the NBA thing... Do you think the NBA thing came first where, like, they, like, made players, like, wear, like, dressy, like, outfits to, like, the post-game interviews? And, like, WWE follows suit?
Yeah, I think it was more in regular sports first, because I remember it, like... being kind of a big deal at the time that like wrestlers started dressing in suits and stuff.
Yeah, I kind of think like Vince McMahon saw like David Stern enforce this and he was like, man, that's kind of a good idea. Let's do that. I feel like that happened like during the time CM Punk won the title. So I kind of think that rumor's sort of true.
Okay, maybe it is. If you're a fan of the product out there, or if you're an insider, you're smart, let me know because I don't know this stuff.
Let us know, man. We're just fans.
Yeah, we're just fans.
So that was your last one, right?
Yes. Now let's talk about these two big ones.
So there's two very big urban legends in pro wrestling, and we'll start off with, I guess we'll go in chronological order, unfortunately, in this instance. There's a big rumor that Macho Man had inappropriate relations with Stephanie. Do you believe that this happened?
I don't know. I always flip-flop on this one because I sort of believed it for a while because it would seem like Macho Man is probably if you don't count the modern era wrestlers like The Rock and Stone Cold, Macho Man Randy Savage is the second biggest like retro, throwback era wrestler outside of Hulk Hogan. So it would seem like he'd have to do something really reprehensible for Vince McMahon to not want to do anything with him. Like it just seems like he had maybe killed his child or had sex with her when she was underage. But at the same time, I mean, this is not a credible source either, but Lanny Poffo has debunked it and said it wasn't true. But I mean, what the fuck does he know? But
also, that's his brother. Like, he's not going to fucking rat him out. Like, hey, my brother's a fucking pedophile.
Well, he said, like, supposedly he said the reason that they wouldn't do business is because, like, Macho Man wanted his dad to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. But again, that seems like so trivial.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't know if it's true or not, but it seems just like something that at this point something solid would have come out, but who knows?
Like, he was persona non grata for like so many years. Like, they would never bring up his name, or they would never even think to bring him in the Hall of Fame. I don't even think they made merch for a while, like, of him. No. And so, like, I always thought that maybe it happened, but like, you would also hear stories about him and Elizabeth and how he was so possessive of her that, like, I feel like any guy that's kind of like that, where they're like super checking in on their boo. I don't know. It doesn't really match up to me personally, but I always lean sort of no on this, and I still don't think it happened. Like, if it did, like, why are they doing all these things now for Macho? Because he's dead? I don't think that's the reason.
Yeah, I mean, but if it is no, then why? There still needs to be a why. Yeah, like that to him. It can't be the dad in the Hall of Fame thing because that's so dumb. Yeah, they have like fucking Carlos Colon in the Hall of Fame. No one gives a shit about Carlos Colon, so no one gives a shit about Angelo Poffo. Like, I don't know, whatever.
And the second one, kind of, the biggest one, I believe, is Brett versus Sean at Survivor Series 96. 96 or 97, whichever.
97.
97, there you go. Do you believe that this whole thing was a work?
You know, that was like right before I started watching wrestling again, or WWE at least. So I didn't see it live.
Okay.
And so I got the most like factual account of it from that Wrestling with Shadows documentary. And when I saw that documentary, I was like, this shit's fixed. And then like, so years have gone by since that documentary. And I think the more I've got to like realize that Bret Hart is really just like that all the time, that I don't think it was fixed anymore. I just think he is that kind of a stubborn person where they're like, well, we got to do this. This dude is like living in some fantasy world where wrestling is real. So we're going to have to be a dick to him.
That's so funny about Wrestling with Shadows. Because, like, there's a clip where Shawn Michaels is like, I swear to God, Brett, I didn't know. And I was like, man, swear to God's a real thing as, like, a 13-year-old. So I was like, man, that shit is, like, definitely on the, you know, on the real. Like, it totally happened. But then Paul Heyman, I think, in some interview was like, you know, best work ever. And, like, as a 13-year-old, I'm like, man, Paul Heyman knows something. Maybe it's fucking, like, totally fixed. And, like, Vince sent Brett down there to totally sabotage WCW. But
I don't think it was that far, but
something like that. But anyway, like, in retrospect, like, that thing is totally real. Like, the writing would never be that good for them to totally fix that.
yeah, that was my other point is like when you look back on it, every single one of WWF's, well, most of their successes have been through mistakes. They have never planned anything that well.
Right.
So it's just like it would seem too insane. And like another thing that soured me on it was, I don't know if you ever try to watch it, but some dork made like a 4-hour quote unquote documentary about, you know, what if it was fixed. And it was just like sub RF video quality of him like interviewing fucking wrestlers out of Shoney's and like just places like that. And it's just like 4 hours. It's like that 9/11 was an inside job video where it's just like so horrible. And I was like, oh, this is so dorky. This sucks. This is definitely real. But I mean, who knows? Maybe they had some kind of an agreement, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, like, was it the deal? Like, he had like a 20-year like contract, and Vince was like, "Well, I don't want to honor this anymore." That was the thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
But he was. But the thing was, he was like urging him to go to WCW too,
Right?
Yeah, because he was like, you know, we're kind of broke, and you'll make a lot of money there. And it was just Bret Hart being fucking stubborn. And if you read his book, you're like, okay, this makes sense. He is totally like, even now, he's just I mean, now he kind of has a right to be like a miserable prick, I guess. But I was just like reading something where he was like, yeah, I'm going to go to that Payback pay-per-view, but I don't really want to be there. And it's just like, why did they let him get away with this? Just because they fucked him over?
Oh, yeah, he's going to be cornering Natalia, huh?
Yeah, and like there was just an interview where he's just like, yeah, I don't really want to be involved in it, but, you know, whatever.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
Anyway, listeners, give us your thoughts. Do you think that either of these happened or not? The Macho Man Stephanie thing or the Bret Hart Shawn Michaels screw job? Email us at virtualpros64@gmail.com with your thoughts. Up next, VRTL mixtape, Kana, Io Shirai, all kinds of Joshi stuff, and Sabu breaking his legs, allegedly. Stay tuned.
I would like to get to know if I could be the kind of girl that you could be down for. Cause when I look at you, I feel something tell me that you're the kind of guy that I should make a move on. And if I don't let you know, then I won't be for real. I could be wrong, but I feel like something could be going on. The more I see you, the more that it becomes so true. There ain't no other for me, it's only you. I wanna be down with what you're going through. I wanna be down. I wanna be down with.
Finally is the VRTL mixtape segment. If you have any suggestions, email us, and we'll definitely fucking watch whatever you want to send over.
Yeah, as much as I like picking stuff out, I really love this segment. I said it on the internet in Podcast Town that out of all of the podcasts I've done, this is my second favorite segment of all time, and I've done a lot of segments. So
What's number one? Snacks Chat?
Snacks Chat is definitely number one, yes.
Man.
But yeah, like, so I would like to like accommodate the listener. So if you want us to just blather on about Japanese stuff, if you want us to be the tastemakers we are and just blather on stuff we're into at the moment, or if you want more like before they were stars stuff, just let us know. No ROH though, because I got popped by YouTube, and I'm on like fucking YouTube probation right now, and it really blows. So no ROH matches.
Hey, if you stitch, man, stitches get stitches. I know one of you guys did it. I believe that's what I mean, because you had that shit like unlabeled and like, well, you did. I don't know.
I think even the logo is blurred out. They're just on that shit. ROH hates YouTube.
That's
so
crazy.
Okay, so I'm gonna go first, and the first match was actually, behind the scenes, little shooting going on. I actually picked this match second, but I'm gonna talk about it as I picked it first. But it is Bam Bam Bigelow, Crusher Bam Bam Bigelow versus Kenta Kobashi in All Japan in June 1990. I was just kind of scrolling through, trying to get ideas, and of course, right after I picked this match, I thought of two better things I wanted to pick, but I just thought this was interesting because this was in the middle of Bam Bam Bigelow first being in WWE and then second being in WWE. And also, he is probably the best big man of all time, I think. So he needs to be on this list. Who do you think is better than Bam Bam Bigelow?
I don't know. A little guy named Vader. Sorry about it.
Okay, Vader is better than Bam Bam Bigelow. But Bam Bam is a solid second. So rest in peace, Bam Bam Bigelow. I saw him in FMW, but I don't think I've ever seen him in All Japan. So this was a treat. And I knew by the runtime that this was probably going to be kind of a dud. And overall, this is just like a really good like WCW Saturday night or like a good Superstars match where it's just like two dudes fighting and there's like no real rhyme or reason to it. Bam Bam throws the beefiest enziguri of all time in the beginning of this match, where it's fucking scary to see a guy that huge do that solid of an enziguri. There's a part where Bam Bam Bigelow tries to give Kobashi the indie respect handshake in the middle of the match, but Kobashi doesn't accept it because he's a dick. Even though Bam Bam's supposed to be the bad guy in this, and it made me think maybe Kobashi hates white people because he seems to go extra hard on white people. So, Kobashi, I'm on to you. Also, there's a part where Bam Bam Bigelow headbutts Kobashi's nuts, and the crowd boos, but they don't boo like a wrestling boo. They're not like, boo! It's more just like, oh man, like, why did you do that, dude? Like, it's just like,
it's like, gradually building up to like the loudest boo, I feel like. It was like a huge reaction.
Yeah, it was just like they were disappointed that he did that. It wasn't even like they hated him, just like they were disappointed for not using fighting spirit and using a headbutt to the balls.
It was a very judgmental boo.
Also, if you are a person who does not watch the Japanese product and you only watch the American product and you have no interest in this, I will say the one thing you should YouTube, it doesn't need to be this match. It could be Eddie Kobashi match, but YouTube Kobashi moonsault, because this guy has the weirdest moonsault. I think that's like a known fact. I don't mean weird in a bad way. I just mean like he is such not a guy that is like the body type to be doing moonsaults. So when he does, he's like, it's not like he pushes out. He just does like a full backflip where there's a point where his like body is like 90 degrees, which is not how a moonsault should go because it's scary as hell. And so his moonsault is insane. And he this one is like, it looks like he's gonna die on this, but he hits it. And and then like Bam Bam Bigelow kind of pins him out of nowhere. It's kind of weird. I don't know. Another thing I need to ask Dave Meltzer is if there's a backstory behind the odd finish to this match.
This is so funny that our notes align. I wrote down Kobashi, best moonsault in the game.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. Like his moonsault is like the most. It stands out the most. That's for sure. Outside of like, Vader or somebody doing one.
Are you more of a Kobashi moonsault guy where it's just like super like high, graceful, and he like gets like totally vertical, or like a Muda guy where it's like very fast and like I don't know. It gets a lot of distance, but I mean like
I always like Muda's because he could land on his feet if he needed to, and that was pretty crazy.
Kobashi number 1, Angle number 2 probably. He had a sweet moonsault too. Also, along to your first point, Bam Bam Bigelow never gets his props as a big man. Like,
No.
he's super good and he's super agile. And, yeah, he's kind of always forgotten because, I mean, yeah, I think Vader's better. But that's really about it. Yeah, I always wonder why he never gets his props.
It's because they made him lose to Lawrence Taylor and he became a fucking joke.
Yeah, probably the reason. My last note is that, yeah, it was sort of a whatever match for me. But going in, I would have bet my life that Kobashi would have won. But he didn't. Spoiler
That's
alert.
why I think there's something up. Like, I read his Wikipedia didn't seem to be correct, so I'm not going to base it on that because the Wikipedia also said this match happened in 1992 and it didn't. And yeah, like I don't know. So something had to be up where they're like, I'm only going to do this if I get to win because it made no sense.
Well, like, and that match was like 9 minutes too, and like that is like unheard of for an All Japan Pro Wrestling match to be that short.
Yeah, especially against like two big monsters like that. Not that Kobashi wasn't exactly his legendary status in 1990, but he was still, he's still a very popular dude where he's not fighting in 8-minute matches.
Yeah, it was like hunky Kobashi era. I think he was actually losing a lot. Maybe that's why, but whatever. Yeah. Next up is Sabu versus Hayabusa. Rest in peace. 8/28/94 from Osaka Castle. This match I think is like 14 minutes long, but it's like super heavily clipped. But I think this might be the best way to watch a Sabu match, honestly. I'm not trying to see him do anything else but fucking spots. I wrote down that this should have been like a pants versus pants match, and like loser had to wear something else. For those of you that don't know, I asked the man himself, Sabu, if him and Hayabusa had the same pants dealer, and he said no. And I think he might be lying, because those guys had the same exact pants. Hayabusa opens his match with like a very ridiculous, like stiff spinning back kick. And then he goes into like a beautiful tope con hilo. Like his might be the best ever. Speaking of like best ever, like high flying moves.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like the theme of this match where like Hayabusa knows that he stole Hayabusa's whole his whole shtick, but he can just do it way better than he can. So he's just making it a point to everybody that he does Sabu better than Sabu. And then after that, they cut to Sabu like hitting like his chair assisted flip to the outside. And it looks like complete dog shit by comparison.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I don't know if you ever watched Battle of the Year or like any other like old breakdancing 90s movies where like people can do head spins like with their bare heads, but then like the sissies have to use the helmet to use their head spins and they like don't get the same reaction. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah, like all this chair offense that he does looks kind of like shitty like 22 years later. This also kind of reminds me of like Rey Mysterio Psychosis Shake-Up 95. Where like Ray is hitting all kinds of like these beautiful aerial moves and like he gets these ridiculous reactions from the crowd. And then like when Psychosis does his stuff, like they give him like a very tepid response because like you just can't match that, So very similar, I think, in terms of how they're laid out. I'm kind of bagging on Sabu here, but he totally makes up for it by like putting Hayabusa on those Japanese tables, which are legendary for just being unbreakable. And he does a springboard 450 splash onto the outside through this table, and it explodes, and it like misses Hayabusa. I don't think he meant to do a 450 splash, honestly. Like, I just think he was just trying to do his regular flip onto the table. But this is so unbelievably dangerous. Like, I always think like whenever they do this spot where someone moves, like there's a very high possibility of that table just like going onto its side, and like. This table just blows up when Sabu lands on it.
Well, if you watch it, it breaks before the impact. So I don't think they rigged it, but I think it fucked up. I think the table breaking before he hit it probably saved his fucking life. But
yeah, it kind of wilts or something when like Hayabusa gets up, but it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't really break, but it kind of comes apart. I don't know if like they rigged it or anything, but yeah, I mean, I've seen those tables take like an amazing amount of punishment, and they don't even budge. So I don't know. But yeah, like, if that table, like, tipped over, like, Sabu would, like, be blinking, like, once for yes and twice for no. Like, for sure. Yeah, and for the next 2 minutes, like, Sabu is just writhing in pain and, like, complaining about his back. And he's just like, my back, for 2 minutes. And it totally bums me the fuck out. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, like, I kind of forget when I found out Sabu spoke perfect English. Like, I know back in the day, like, I read those, like, real names lists. And I saw that his name was Terry Brunk, and I was like, that's bullshit. That just sounds like Terry Funk's like Fire Pro name or whatever. And so like, I always thought he was really from like fucking Bombay, India. But once I found out he spoke English, and I forget where I found out, like that whole illusion of Sabu like just ended for me once I found out he actually spoke English for whatever reason.
I mean, I kind of knew he spoke English, but yeah, that's really my only note about this match is that this was very early on into me knowing who Hayabusa was. Like, I think this was, I saw this from the Best of Hayabusa tape, which was one of the first tapes I ever got. Yep. So I knew, like, I was also already a big fan of Sabu, but I never heard him speak. So the first words I ever heard him speak were, "Ow, my back." And I was like, whoa, he actually does talk.
Right.
Like, he can say, like, words. And I didn't know his name at the time, so I at least thought he was foreign. So I was just like, no, he just said, like, "Ow, my back" in perfect English. And yeah, then he complained, like, he's like, "Fuck" or something. He's like, "Shit," or he says something like that. And I'm like, oh, he's like, he can speak English. But it still wasn't until years later when he came out with that shoot interview, which was like, I think in like 2004 or something.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, he like super speaks perfect English. Like, he just sounds like a shitty guy from the Midwest. And I was like, man, the illusion is gone. But I held on to it for that long, but unfortunately.
Yeah, man, props to his gimmick. Like, I really thought he was some kind of fucking table-breaking mute.
Yeah.
And then I heard him speak English. I think it was that shoot interview where he's just, like, talking like a normal dude.
Yeah, that was a real letdown. I'm sad he needed the money that badly to do that shoot interview, but now he's done millions. But outside of that, yeah, this was a very impressionable match on me because it was like my original hero versus my new hero. And yeah, you know, watching it back now, if you watch this for the first time, you didn't know who these guys were, you'd be like, this sucks. This is like some shitty indie wrestling. Because like there's a part where like Hayabusa does like this crazy flip outside and Sabu has to like dodge to catch him because he's an idiot. Or vice versa, I mean. And like, you know, it's just like really bad indie wrestling compared to modern wrestling. But you know, it's a good historical relic there. Okay, my next match is Kana, aka Asuka, versus Hikaru Shida, aka the Ass God, from September 2014, from one of their fake promotions that they made up that records in somebody's garage, and actually has a security camera angle for half this match, which is a very, very, I don't know, very improvisational camera angle, I guess. Like,
it's brutal a lot. You miss a lot of action actually because of this angle.
Yeah, but they have like floor cameras too, so it's just really odd that they're even using this camera. But anyway, so the Ass God we talked about several episodes ago now. I found out that Al was following this lady wrestler on Twitter, and I looked her up, and her nickname is the Ass God, and she's kind of a babe. So I was like, I got to see what this girl's about. At the same time, I found that somebody posted that GIF of Kana fighting Lynn Byron and stripping her down, and I was like, I gotta find this match. And when I found that match, I found like a bunch of Kana matches, so I just downloaded them because I was like, fuck it, why not? And it took me a really long time to finally watch them because I was so ashamed I downloaded that many lady matches at once. And I finally like watched like a couple of them, and this was one of them, and like I was just like gasping. I was like, this is the greatest wrestling match I've seen in my life. Move over 6'3", There's a new champion. It's like 9, 10, 14, I think. It is Kana versus Hikaru Shida. And yeah, this match is amazing, mostly because the entire first like third or even half of the match, instead of doing stupid boring holds and chin locks and wrist locks to build up to the crescendo, they just have an ass battle for like 5 minutes where they just keep doing ass moves to each other. And it's fucking amazing. Like they do like ass butts, like competing ones, and then there's a part where I need Al to put it on the Instagram because it won't work, but they do like a fighting spirit sequence, but with ass shots to the head instead of like forearm chops, where they just keep giving each other ass shots to the head and like powering up. And one part where Hikaru Shida like just smothers Kana with her ass in like the middle or on the top turnbuckle, just like all this ass stuff, and it's like all fun. Like they're kind of like you kind of see them laughing, and but then it gets into like, you know, like a real ass match, where they do like real holds and stuff, and like real brutal submissions on top of it. But on top of that, I found out, I don't know if it was from watching this match and Googling Hikaru Shida or what, but I found out she got a WWE tryout when they were in Japan last July. Obviously, she's not there, so I don't think it went that well. But I would like it if she did get signed now that Asuka's champion and they want to like bring in more Japanese ladies for her to face. It would just be amazing if they just promoted her for like 5 weeks by just showing that clip of the fighting spirit ass part where they just keep doing ass butts to each other's faces. like without comment, they're like, Hikaru Shida's coming, and they just showed that part over and over again. It would be fucking amazing to build up a wrestler like that. Yeah, so that's basically it. Like they go into this brutal submission sequence. And the one thing I hate about this match is that in Japan, for whatever reason, the referees do like delayed 3 counts.
Yeah. Do you like that or no?
I like it. Like when New Japan does it, it's okay, but it was like super delayed in this. Like it just seems so fake, and that's bad. I won't spoil who wins this match, but at the end, they're still showing off their asses. They're like, I have a superior ass. And it's just like, I don't know. This is the greatest women's wrestling match of all time. Yeah, I don't know what'll ever beat this. The end. 5 stars, 7 stars, 20 stars.
I almost want to link Mike to like good Japanese like pornography torrent sites because this match is not that good.
It is.
No, it's not. Dude, this match is not good. Hikaru Shida should not touch 20 minutes in a match. He's like not that good at wrestling.
You're a piece of shit, Al. That's what I think of you. This match is fun. Like, it's not like I like it just because it's sexy. Like, I like it because I think it's fun that they do like an ass battle for 5 minutes.
Anyway, my notes are, I'm kind of dying to know like what this fan says like initially. Like, because Hikaru Shida and Kana just like stop. And like, I think he says Osaka Kana. And I don't know why they'd be offended by that or why they thought that was funny. But I'll get confirmation sometime soon. Because I've never seen a heckler just stop a match like that ever. It was kind of weird. I wrote down that I thought that Hikaru Shida was like stuffing her like shorts. Because it looks like her butt looks like a diaper almost. It looks very baggy.
She knew she was going to be in an ass battle. So she was like, I got to protect my ass. So she stuffed it with a diaper.
Well, and it kind of kills the ass god gimmick, man. False god. It reminded me of this like high school story where like there was a very skinny chick like junior year, and like she was wearing like I don't know capris, and I was like, damn, so and so's ass got kind of fat, and so I was looking at it a little closer, and like you saw like 7 or 8 panty lines, and I was like, oh my god, she's wearing like extra panties to make her ass look fatter, and that's what this fucking whole thing reminded me of. Yeah, you can see Shida laughing during like Kana's elbows, and like that's really bad. It kind of reminded me of like Jimmy Fallon like laughing like during skits on SNL, and like she's laughing throughout the entire match. I'm like, how do I take this seriously?
They know their job. They're just there for all the strokers. They're not trying to. That was like the stroke part of the match. Then it got into real shit.
My last note is that I actually don't think that Hikaru Shida was stuffing because I wrote down thongs are called teabacks in Japan.
Yeah, I would say out of all 40-some matches on our playlist, you need to see this one the most. Also, previously not available on the internet. I am the pioneer. I brought this match to the internet, so you need to see it.
Yo, VRTL mixtape exclusive, man, for real.
Seriously.
The last match of the night is the better women's wrestling match, and it didn't even take me a whole lot to find this match. Io Shirai, Mayu, Iwatani, Stardom 5-star, 2015, from Korakuen Hall. I think that these two are like top 5 women wrestlers in the world. For those that don't know, I think Io Shirai like might be the best pure high-flying women's wrestler maybe of all time. Whereas Mayu Iwatani, like super plucky babyface, and she's the current high-speed champion, which means I guess she's like a junior, but like all these girls are juniors. They're all like 110 pounds, so I'm not sure why she's like, you know, the secondary title holder. This match starts off with like super like great chain wrestling and near fall pin attempts. And then they just kind of break into the violence. This is kind of like the women's version of like last episode's Dragon League Kamaitachi match, where they just like fuck each other up. Just really hard slaps, very hard strikes, really good submissions. Io Shirai knocks Iwatani off the top rope with this drop kick, and Iwatani's like, you know what? I'm gonna make sure to hit everything I can falling down. And like she like hits like her lower back on the apron super hard, and she like whips her head into the ground. It's on our Instagram, and that shit is insane. You see a dragon suplex on the floor. You see Iwatani hit this like unreal pile driver that just takes years off of Io's neck, and this reverse Rana, which also looks amazing right afterwards. I'm not going to spoil the ending, but this ending might be the best of its kind, even though it's kind of a screwy finish.
Is that it?
That was it.
Okay, first off, there was no ass battle in this match at any point, so it is not as good as the last match we talked about, just to get that out of the way.
Man, Io got better ass anyway than those last two.
For some reason, I wrote down not on Stardom, which I probably had something to follow that up with, but it is not on the Stardom channel. But I just also figured out that it's because they're putting them in chronological order by the week, so this won't be up on Stardom for another 14 years, probably. During this match, I realized that my dream is that somehow Jerry Lawler will become poor enough where he'll need to do a Kickstarter where he does weird requests for people. And one of my requests is for him to call a whole Stardom event and see how that goes, because there's just so much going on for him to talk about that I would need to hear it. Outside of that, Mayu Iwatani, who is a person that I'm mostly familiar with from watching this current Stardom, and this is only like a year or two old, but it's like after this I looked at pictures of her and it's like her face is just like morphing somehow. It's real weird. I don't know if she's like losing weight or like what's going on, but she looks so different and compared to even now. And then I looked at more pictures of her and she looks even more different. She's a shapeshifter, I believe.
I almost want to email like Stardom, like, why do they keep calling her lazy? Like, that's her backstory. She's like, man, she'd be so great, but she's just so lazy. But she's like not a lazy person at all, it seems like. I don't know. Maybe she really is lazy. This match also what's the word? Anyways, this match also made me remember that, or made me think that American women's wrestling is really missing out on the Japanese lady screams. Because that really makes these matches like 10% better than American matches. And I guess they could scream at each other in English, but it doesn't sound as I don't know, like it sounds unsettling when they scream at each other. And I think American wrestling's missing that. And this ending, I will say, from my little knowledge of Stardom, they do this ending a lot in Stardom. And I guess in wrestling, it seems like, logically it seems like a normal thing to do. But it doesn't happen that often that it does in Stardom. Also, a thing that I wrote down, but then I read their Wikipedia, and so I take it back. But I was like, man, it's crazy that these girls don't get injured as much. But then, like, I read, like, the Wikipedia, and it's like, this girl retired when she was 24 from, like, spinal injury. And, like, it's just, like, all of this horrible shit that happens to these girls where I don't know why they still do this. Like, it's very scary. Like, I'm sure, like, the things they retire from are, like, not even as bad as, like, what most current WWE wrestlers wrestle with every day. And it just sounds horrible in print. But it's still, like, pretty shocking that a lot of these girls retire at, like, 26. And, still being, like, 14-year veterans at 26. From some kind of spinal injury or, like, some kind of neck fusion surgery. Just, like, all this shitty shit. But, yeah, outside of that, I was reading the Stardom Wikipedia. They make no bones about it that one of their main points of appeal is that they only employ attractive women. And that's how Stardom was founded. It was founded by some little idol model, some little gravure model. So, it was founded by a wrestler, but that was like their main draw in the beginning was some sexy babe. Yeah. So yeah, it's okay to be a stroker and watch this, I guess. You don't have to pretend that you're a fucking sports purist. Speaking of which, sorry this episode's going long, but yeah, I just had to mention this. On the Stardom channel, there's a match from Las Vegas they did at Cauliflower Alley. Yeah. So it's the super nerds watching this because you have to be like, you have to be a Bix level supreme lord nerd of wrestling to even know about Cauliflower Alley and then go to it. But like within 10 seconds of their match, like whatever Stardom match they did, within 10 seconds, there's like grown men chanting women's wrestling. And it was like the most ashamed I've ever been to be a wrestling fan because it's just wrestling, man. Like there's women, there's guys, they all wrestle. You can't chant women's wrestling. That sounds, I don't know. It sounds insulting in a way. And it's just a stupid chant. Don't ever do that if you're out there. Other than that, did you think the match was good?
Oh yeah, I think it's very good. I think it's weird because Stardom seems to have like two levels where it's 80% just like bullshit jerk off matches. Well, I would say it's like 40% like bullshit little kid matches, and then 40% like idiot jerk off matches, and then like the other 20% is just these brutal fucking matches where it's just like, man, I can't believe they're doing this in some like preschool gymnasium in front of 80 people, but they are.
Yeah, so I also joined Mike in this fucking black hole of Stardom subscription. I think I might cancel it. But I think tonight they're going to have Io on Pajama Party talk about her top 3. No, not Io. Kairi Hojo.
Yeah, the other one.
So I'm very excited about that. But after that, I'll probably cancel it. I just need to... well, I hope she picks Ryback, you know?
Yeah, I hope she picks something crazy, too. Stan Hansen, I would even be... I love Stan Hansen. I would love that.
That was episode 15 of the Virtual Pros podcast. If you want to reach out or just, give us your general feedback, email us at virtualpros64@gmail.com. Hit us on Twitter and Instagram at VRTLPros. We're very active on both of those platforms. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Man, we broke a new record and I was very happy about it. So I'm glad the listenership is growing. Hit us on SoundCloud too. Hit that heart. I see you guys doing it. Any last words, Mike, besides no?
Yes, please support the product.
There you go, man. Episode 15. Peace.